संतु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Let all be happy, let all be healthy, let all attain goodness, let none get misery. Om peace, peace, peace. Dear friends, it's a great pleasure meeting you virtually. Actually, it would have been much better. I had been to Silchar many times. I visited Silchar IIT, I think, and I had a program there. But anyway, at least we are meeting virtually. I'm very happy to meet you. And the topic, as you know, is very important topic. The present scenario. It's a very special type of problem that has come up not only for our country but all over the world, and that is this pandemic, this coronavirus pandemic. So naturally there are so many problems involved with that. It's not only the problem of getting corona, the danger of getting corona, the danger of not getting proper treatment, the risk of dying. All those things are involved, not only for yourself but for the family members also. Apart from that, the economic slowdown because of the lockdown, and along with that, this academic these obstructions that are taking place, because maybe the rural youth may not be having that type of facility to go for the online classes all the time. So I can understand all these problems are there, and because of that there may be some tension. That's quite natural. But we must understand that every human being has got a center of consciousness which is having infinite power, and we can face all the problems squarely. Only we have to arouse this power within ourselves. Power is there. It is inherent. Only thing, it is dormant. We have to arouse it. That's all. And so once we know that we have the power, there are problems are plenty. There are plenty of problems, but there are plenty of remedies also. And we have that power. We must have that confidence of overcoming all those problems. And we must understand that struggle itself is life. When Swami Vivekananda was asked this question by the Maharaja of Khetri, Ajit Singh Ji, Swamiji, what is life? Swamiji immediately replied, my dear prince, life is nothing but the unfoldment of a being under the circumstances trying to press it down. It is a struggle. And Swami Vivekananda gives a beautiful example, beautiful equation. The greater the struggle, the greater the person who comes out of it. You must come out of it. And once you come out of it, you will always find you have become greater. Greater the struggle, greater the person who comes out of it. So, if there is a struggle, if there is a problem, let us not get afraid. Let us not get cowed down. Let us not be cowardly. Let us face the situation boldly. Whatever may be the problem, let us face the situation boldly. And we can do it, and we will do it. That sort of confidence should be there. So it is all about mental power. So we have to develop PMA, that is positive mental attitude. Avoid NMA, negative mental attitude. How it can come? By bombarding our mind with positive thoughts day and night. At present, we are unconsciously bombarding our mind with negative thoughts. What will happen if it comes? What will happen if this one? What will happen if this one? According to the psychologists, 90% of our worries are imaginary, just imaginary. So that is why there is a beautiful psychological method that was devised by the great psychologist, that is Ellis Albert, and he has given it the name rational emotive theory. He says most of our worries are imaginary. So whenever you are having any problem, just ask this question: is it really so? This is rational emotive theory. Since you are all from the Department of Physics, naturally you are having the scientific bent of mind, so you have to be rational. So once you go rationally, then you will find most of the problems are imaginary. Once you put this question, is it really so? To all your problems, all your worries, you ask this question, is it really so? Then you will find out it is not really so. In 90% of the cases. Only 10% of the cases you will find that also you will find it is not to the extent that you are thinking. Yes, it is there. In 10% of the time you will find the problem is there. The worry that you are having is true, but it is not of that magnitude as you are thinking. So there is a beautiful story that is given in the book. Ralph Waldo Trine has written the book In Tune with the Infinite. There he gives the example, the goddess of plague was going, and somebody asked, where are you going? She said, I am going to Baghdad to kill 1 lakh people, to kill 15,000 people. And then when she was returning, that person said, you said that you are going to kill 15,000 people, but I heard that 1 lakh people have died. She said, I killed only 15,000, rest 85,000 died because of the fear. I did not have to do anything. Out of fear only they died. This is exactly what is happening. Okay, many people are dying out of corona and many people are dying out of corona fear. If they are not dying, at least they are dying, if not completely, at least they are getting worried and they are getting negative in approach just because of the imaginary fear. So that is why this rational emotive theory must be applied to all our problems. Then we will find 90% of the worries are imaginary. So whatever problem we are facing, for example, say the mind says, supposing the worry is this, whether I will get pandemic, supposing I get corona, what will happen? What is the probability of your getting corona disease? Compared to other countries, our percentage is still less, statistically speaking. Population wise, it is much less. Ours is the having 2.5 lakh death per billion, which is the lowest in the whole world. So we have more or less controlled. Controlled the dangerous part of it, compared to what could have happened because of the early action taken by our government and because of the wonderful cooperation of the people by maintaining social distancing and this and that. Somehow we have been able to reduce that to a particular percentage, and we will further reduce it, no problem, by our efforts. But this effect due to the imaginary fear should be completely wiped out. What is actual problem? We will face it. But another part is the imaginary problem. That has to be immediately removed from our mind. Completely removed. No, the unnecessary worry should be removed. As I told you, 85,000 people died not due to plague but due to fear. So at present also this is happening. In our own eyes, before our own eyes, we are seeing many people are having almost dying, if not dying exactly, almost dying, almost becoming like dead people because of the fear of corona. They have not yet got corona. None of their family members has got corona, and their study has not yet been affected, and their economy has not yet been affected. The job has not yet been taken over. They have not yet become unemployed. But imagining it, what will happen if there is an economic slowdown, and then supposing if I lose the job, then what will happen? all these questions all these types of worries we are having imaginary. So that is why whatever the imaginary, is it really so? No. There is the probability of my getting the corona is very less. And after getting the corona, supposing if I get it, then also 90% of the people are getting recovered. How do you know that you will not be a person who will be recovered? Only very elderly people and those are having already so many complications, they were otherwise also they would have died without corona. They are dying, but the credit is going to corona. They would have otherwise also died. So why compare yourself with that I will also meet with this one, with this fat and guy. There is another thing. And so then another part, this is one part of the corona disease itself. Then one come to economic slowdown. How do you come to know there will be economic slowdown and I will lose my job or I will not get a job? How do you know? It's imaginary. It may happen. Already Japan has declared it will close all the factories in China and come to India. It may happen the other way around also, that India will become the destination for all the countries of the world because China has been signaled out that it is the culprit. They have found out. So the whole world is having a compassionate view towards India. So who knows? India will become on the top of the world, even economically speaking. There is every possibility. So all these are imaginary things, and it may happen that within 1 or 2 months it will be completely wiped out and their life will become normal. There is every possibility. So why unnecessary multiply your problems by unnecessary imagination? So always apply this question, is it really so? Then this will solve your problem. 90% of the time you will find out, if you really analytically think with a calm mind, is it really so? Then you will find it is not really so. So this is the first thing that I will tell you. We have to do that. And second thing is that we have always to bombard our mind with positive thoughts so that there is no space for the negative thoughts to enter our mind. I'll give you an example. When Swami Vivekananda went to America in 1893 for participating in the Parliament of World Religion, as you know, and delivered his historic speech on 11th September. That was also 9/11. And because he did not listen to his message of harmony of religions, so there was another 9/11 after 108 years and the World Trade Center was attacked. That's a different thing. But when he went to America, before going to America, he was traveling all over the country. Then when he had gone to Benares, there he went to, there is Durga temple there. He had darshan in Durga temple and he was coming out. Suddenly a few monkeys, they started chasing him. Very big monkeys with black faces. And they started chasing him. Afraid, he started running and these monkeys started running after him. So it went on like that. Now there was, on one side there was a pond, another side there was a wall. So there was nowhere he could go, only you have to go forward and forward. But after some time he became exhausted of what to do. At that time, another...
Hello Swamiji?
Hello? Are you able to listen to me? क्या हो गया?
Swamiji, your voice is not audible.
I see. Okay, we are checking up.
Adri madam?
Yes. Swamiji, you are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Hello?
Hello? क्या हो गया अचानक? हेलो 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 Hello?
You just call the person and in charge and tell him to disconnect and connect it again.
Okay, okay.
I request the esteemed participants to be with us. Just bear with us. This is a technical snag.
वो लोग फिर से कर रहे हैं, कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. The connecting again. बोले तो.
Hello? Hello?
बोले.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Please think of what to ask him or not
Hello?
in the discussion.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Are you
sir.
able to listen?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes.
Okay. Should I start again?
Yes, very sorry.
Okay. I start the story again because some people might have missed the link. So the story is very important. When Swami Vivekananda had gone to Benares, he had darshan of the Durga Devi temple, and then when he was coming out, suddenly a few monkeys, they started chasing him. Very big monkeys with black faces. So Swamiji was afraid and he started running. On one side there was a pond, another side was a big wall, so he could not go anywhere and he had to move further and further. But he became exhausted. Now what to do? At that time, a very old monk who was staying there in that period, in that area, he shouted, "Hey, daro mat, bandar ka samna karo. Don't be afraid. Face the brutes, face the animals, face the monkeys." When he heard like that, he stopped rather than going forward and looked back. And he had a stick, he showed like it. And all the monkeys fled away. Afterwards, in America, he remembered this story and he said to the people there in America, "That day I learned one of the greatest lessons of my life." What is that? Face the brutes, face the animals, face the difficulties of life squarely. If you are afraid, monkeys will chase you. If you are afraid, difficulties will chase you. But if you squarely face the difficulties with bravery, with courage, difficulties will vanish. This is a very important message. So, when this Rakshasa has come, Corona Rakshasa has come, we are not to be afraid. This monkey has come, Corona monkey chasing us, but we should face it boldly. And we should not lose courage. It will have to go away. It has to go away. So, any difficulty in our life, we must remember this formula: face the brutes, face the difficulties squarely with courage, and then they will disappear. So, this is a great lesson that Swami Vivekananda had learnt and which we can learn from his life. Another thing that he gave the message of the infinite power which is within us, which can face any problem anywhere in our life. And Swami Vivekananda delivered his message. Why in America he was so popular? Because those people were having that inferiority complex, that we are sinners, we are weak, we are miserable, we have everything. They were rich at that time. Also America was rich when Swami Vivekananda went in 1893, but still they were having a lot of problems and they were not having peace of mind. It is at that time Swami Vivekananda solved their problem of restlessness, their problem of lack of happiness and peace, lack of courage. He gave the nectar of Vedanta, which today we need very badly when we are facing a great pandemic like coronavirus, a very historic occasion. At this time, we need this nectar of Vedanta much more than when these people needed in America. So, Swami Vivekananda, he quoted the verse from Shveta Upanishad. Shurvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastuhu Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat Tameva Viditva Timritameti Nanya Pantha Vidyatayanaya. I have found the Ancient One who is beyond all miseries. By knowing Him alone, you shall be free from all miseries. That is what is told in Shveta Upanishad. And then Swami Vivekananda said, my dear sisters and brothers of America, let me call you by this sweet name. What is the name? Amritasya Putra. Ye, the children of immortal bliss, holy and perfect beings. Ye, divinities and sinners, it is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing lab on human nature. Come up, O lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your soul's immortal, spirit's free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is a servant, not he the servant of matter. Wonderful message of the Vedanta Swami Vivekananda shared there in the World Parliament Religions while talking about, giving a paper on Hinduism. And he said, we do not believe only in toleration, but we accept all religions as equally true. And then he narrated this particular passage from the Shveta Upanishad. So this is what he told, that always remember, you are the children of immortal bliss. You are not weak. You are not sinners. Come up, lions, and shake off the delusion that you are sheep. Your soul's immortal, spirit's free, blessed and eternal. You are not matter, you are not bodies. Matter is a servant, not he the servant of matter. And later on, he used to narrate a beautiful story in this connection. There was a lioness which was passing through a forest, and then it saw there was a flock of sheep. Now, in order to cross this flock of sheep, the lioness jumped. While it jumped, because it was pregnant, it gave birth to a small lion cub. And this lion cub fell into the group of this flock of sheep. And the lioness went to the other side and died on the spot. Now, this small lion cub started weeping because it had lost its mother. So, the mother sheep started to take care of it. And now this small lion cub started going along with the sheep and started eating grass like the sheep, started playing with the sheep, and started bleating like the sheep, bam, bam, bam. This went on. After a few years, a big lion came to that side. And it saw at a great distance a flock of sheep going, all the sheep bleating, bam, bam, bam. At the end, there was a small lion, and it was also bleating, bam, bam, bam. Huh? It was surprised. What? He never saw any lion bleating like this. So it came nearer in order to know what it is all about. And the sheep, they became so much afraid by looking at the lion. They just started running, bah, 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 and they started running. This small lion also started running, bleating, bah, bah, bah. And this big lion caught hold of it. Hey, where are you going? Why are you afraid? These sheep are afraid because they are sheep and I am lion. But you are like a lion like me. Why are you afraid of me? The small lion again started weeping and saying, bah, bah, bah. No, 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 I am not lion, I am sheep. The big lion said, you fool, you are a lion and still you are saying that you are sheep. You are lion. But the small lion was further afraid, again started weeping. No, 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 bah, 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 bah. I am not lion, I am sheep. Now this big lion, they became very much angry. Caught hold of it and took it near a pond. Look at your reflection and look at the reflection of mine. Your face resembles that of mine or with the sheep. Now it saw, my God, yes, my face is that of lion. Now you understand? Now give up this bleating, bah, bah, bah. Roar like me. Come to the forest. You are the king of the forest. This is the story that was told by Swami Vivekananda. Then Swami Vivekananda asked, this small lion was already a lion, isn't it? Then why it was bleating? Because it had forgotten that it was a lion. This is our case. This is our story. Inside each and every human being, there is a center of consciousness called divinity. And this Atman has got infinite power, unlimited power. In spite of having this unlimited power, we are saying we are miserable, we are weak, we cannot do this, we cannot do that. How can I counteract all these problems? My God, Corona has come to my village. How I can fight with Corona? How I can manage with less money? How I can manage with this one? Oh, so many problems. How I'll face the problems? Give up this foolishness. You have got infinite power. Already it is there. You don't have to import any power. Infinite power. Each and every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality, has got that Atman having infinite power. But it is sleeping. It is dormant. It has to be aroused. Now how it will be aroused? So Swami Vivekananda says there are 4 methods how you can do it. Each soul is potentially divine. The goal of human life is to manifest this divinity within by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. Doctrines, dogmas, rituals, worships, temples, churches, mosques are but secondary details. This is the whole of religion. What is that? Manifesting the divinity within. How? By controlling nature, external and internal. How this can be done? By 4 methods. Raj Yoga, meditation. Bhakti Yoga, prayer. Gyan Yoga, inspirational reading and reflection over it. Not only reading, reflection over it. And 4th, unselfish service. When we practice these 4 yogas, Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Karma Yoga, what will happen? Everyday life will get tremendous power, because the more the divinity is manifested, the more that infinite, that unlimited power which is within our mind will become manifested. And then naturally when that is manifested, we will be capable of facing any problem of life. It may be Corona, it may be any economic problem, it may be health issue, it may be academic issue, it may be facing a failure in academic year. All these problems will come. Life itself is a problem. But we should not be afraid. And we have got, each and every human being has got that capacity of handling the problems, of facing the problems. This capacity has to be increased. It is already there. Only thing is that it is dormant. And by practicing these 4 yogas, every day we have to bombard our mind with positive thoughts and inspirational reading. And every day we must meditate for some time, and we must pray for some time. and try to do whatever work we are doing in a spirit of detachment, in a spirit of unselfishness. Try to do even a little bit of unselfishness also drives away lot of our problems and lot of our anxieties. When Swami Vivekananda went there in America, at that time, the richest person of the world was John D. Rockefeller. You know, he was the emperor of petroleum industry. At that time, he was passing through a bad phase, and so somebody suggested, why don't you go to my friend's house? There is an Indian yogi has come, and if you meet him and get his advice, maybe you will be able to solve your problem. Rockefeller said, what? I to go to a beggar for getting advice? No, I will not go. And he did not go. You know, we are all beggars, we live on charity. So he did not go. But one fine morning, suddenly what happened? He came to the place where Swami Vivekananda was residing. He called the bell, the butler opened the door. He went inside. Now Swami Vivekananda was not in his drawing room, he was in study room. So without being announced, he entered the study room. And as you know, Swami Vivekananda had tremendous power of concentration of mind. So he used to do one thing at a time. So he was so much absorbed, he did not notice Rockefeller coming. So Rockefeller stood for some time and then he knocked at the table. Then Swami Vivekananda looked up. Rockefeller said, I am Rockefeller. Swami Vivekananda said, what do you want? Now Rockefeller was not prepared for this type of treatment, because by listening to the name Rockefeller, the President of America would get up from the seat, and here is the beggar sitting and asking, what do you want? So he became very much annoyed. I don't want anything. Then Swami Vivekananda said, then why have we come? Now he had no answer, because he had come without invitation. Then Swami Vivekananda started narrating many things from his life which no one else knew except Rockefeller. He became excited. Who has told all these things to you? Swami Vivekananda said, do you think it is necessary? I can see through your mind as I can see through a glass shelf. Then he was very much excited, very much worried. My God, he has come to know all my secrets. Then Swami Vivekananda said, my dear Rockefeller, remember, you are not the owner of your wealth. You are a custodian of your wealth. Utilize this money for removing the sufferings of millions of people. Immediately you will get peace of mind. There is no other way by which you can get peace of mind. And Rockefeller was very much annoyed. How dare you talk to me like that? And he left abruptly as abruptly had come. But after 1 week again he came. Similar fashion, called the bell, the butler opened the door, he went inside. Swamiji was not in his drawing room, so he went to the study room. Swamiji was fully absorbed. Again he knocked at the table, and then Rockefeller put a piece of paper on his table in which he had made an announcement of a huge donation for a public cause. When Swami Vivekananda read it, Rockefeller said, now you must thank me. I have followed your advice. Swamiji said, well, it is for you to thank me. Because by following my advice, you will get peace of mind which cannot be purchased by millions of dollars in the market. So then afterwards Rockefeller's life changed and he got back his health so much that he went on to live up to 98 years of age. And then he wrote in his autobiography, there is more to life than only earning money. The real purpose of life is to serve others. This is all because of the influence of Swami Vivekananda. So this message, what does it know? This incident, what does it show? That when you work for others, when you think about others, when you try to serve others, you get peace of mind. Not only that, you get tremendous power, you get tremendous courage. Least the work done for others gives you tremendous power. If you can't do anything, at least pray for others unselfishly. Even that will bring peace of mind. So Swami Vivekananda says, at long last you will understand that the best way to become happy is to see that others are happy, and the best way to get peace of mind is to pray for others' peace of mind. And so he used to say that every day morning before you start your meditation, start this prayer. The prayer with which I started. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyid dukh bhag bhavet. Let all be healthy, let all be happy, let all attain goodness, let none get misery. What a beautiful prayer. So, I tell them to have this prayer, and many people report to me that after this prayer every day morning, they are having peace of mind. Some people, they say they are not getting peace of mind. I said, then there is something wrong in your praying. Because some people, they say, oh Lord, let all be happy, minus my mother-in-law. Let all be happy, minus my wife, minus my husband. Don't put a bracket there. Then you will find the peace of mind is coming. So, unselfishness. So, these are the 4 methods: meditation, prayer, or repeating the mantra, Om, or any other mantra, then inspirational reading and reflecting over it. Every day positive thoughts have to be hammered into our mind. You must set apart some time for getting in touch with the positive thoughts. And 4th is unselfish service. Now, if we can combine all these 4, if we can practice these 4, surely we will be manifesting the divinity within. And the more we manifest the divinity within, the more we will be able to have happiness and peace, the more we will be able to face the problems squarely. So, problems are plenty, but let us increase our capacity of handling the problems, of facing the problems squarely. And so we have got tremendous power within. We need not import from anywhere else. Each and every human being is a heir apparent, heir of immortal bliss. Amritasya putra, the children of immortal bliss. We are all the children of immortal bliss. This is the message that Swami Vivekananda gave, and that's why he was so popular, and that's why the people felt so much. Only thing that some orthodox people, they started complaining, Swami, you are always telling you are divine, you are divine, you are divine. You are trying to hypnotize us. And Swami Vivekananda smiled and said, Madam, I am not trying to hypnotize you. I am trying to dehypnotize you. Because always thinking, I am weak, I am weak, I am weak. You have been hypnotized. I am a sinner, I am a sinner, I am a sinner. You have been hypnotized. I am trying to dehypnotize you. Why? Because you are divine, that is the first truth. You are divine, that is the second truth. You are divine, that is the last truth. There is no truth greater than this. This is a simple, it is not based on any theory. It is not based on any hypothesis. You having infinite power, that is the first truth and that is the last truth. You are divine. Very nature, each and every human being, irrespective of caste, creed, color, religion, nationality. Whether you are a boy or a girl, whether you are a man or a woman, whether you are rich or poor, lower caste, higher caste, any country, each and every human being is heir apparent to that tremendous, to infinite treasure of that divinity. That's a wonderful message that Swami Vivekananda gave, and that's why he was so popular, and that is why he had to go again second time also. And then he told them that we will have to increase this capacity. Challenges are there. Convert problems into challenges, convert challenges into opportunities, convert opportunities into great achievements. We have to convert. And the greater the challenges, greater are the struggles, and the greater is the person who comes out of it. That's a great thing. So out of this also, when we are having present crisis, you will find many good things will come out of that. Many good things will come. You will surely see for yourself. We have to overcome this tide. It's a temporary phase that we are undergoing, but don't think it is a permanent phenomena. We will be able to solve this thing, but that does not mean that we should not take precautions. All the precautions should be taken. Whatever the government has issued the circular, maintaining the social distance and washing our hands frequently and all that. I am not saying that we should not follow that. That should be followed. But unnecessary worrying should be given up. When the problem will come, we will face it. But why die now? Why die? Swami Vivekananda said, why are you dying again and again? Die only once. If death comes, that is the worst of our miseries. Let it come. We are determined to die again. But let it come first. Before it has come, you are weeping and you are dying. Imaginary sin dying in imagination. Let it come first, then we will face it. So these imaginary problems should be removed. Imaginary worries should be removed from our mind. That will come by bombarding our mind and asking this question. As I told you, rational emotive theory, the scientific method developed by psychologist Ellis Albert, is it really so? And then first is analyze the problems, then accept the situation. Whatever best you can do, do it. Then accept the situation and adjust. I am giving you this stress management formulas of stress management that will be available with you not only in pandemic, during pandemic or any other crisis, or whenever any facing any stress problem. This is the formula of stress management I am giving. That is to remember, easy to remember. A is adjust, B is bite as much as you can chew. So many people are having so many things, they want so many things, they are ambitious, very good to be ambitious, but do one thing at a time in order to be effective. So bite as much as you can chew, then count your blessings. Now you have got so many worries, and when you have got worries, your mind is crowded with negative thoughts. So try to find out. So all the time your mind is engaged in what are the negative things in your life. Count your blessings. Take up a piece of paper and pen, write down. First of all, you will not understand. You will think that I don't have any blessing. But when you are thinking about blessing, try to compare yourself with other people who are not as privileged as you. For example, you have got 2 feet, you have got 2 hands, you have got 2 eyes, 2 ears, most of you. So you are much better than the people who are having 1 foot, who have got 1 eye, who have got this one, who are blind, who are lame. I am giving an example. Likewise, you will find so many things. One person saying my salary is less. Then you should always remember there are so many people who are unemployed. So you are better than that. That does not mean that you should be satisfied with the present salary. You should try to get more. But you should always, if at all you have to compare, then compare yourself with others which are less privileged. So count your blessings. That is an exercise you can do, and that itself will give you that will give you power. That will give you confidence. Oh, I have got so many positive things in my life. Then D is very important. Do your best and leave the rest. Can you do better than best? Then do better than best. Karmani avidikaraste ma phaleshu kadashana ma karma phal heturbhu mate sangosta karmani, says the Bhagavad Gita. You have the right to the work, not to the fruits thereof. You do your work, automatically the result will come, because the law of karma is supreme in the mental world, just as law of gravitation is supreme in the physical world. Many people say, we don't believe in the law of karma. I tell them, whether you believe it or not, the law of karma will act. Because these are all lighthouse principles. I do not believe in law of gravitation. Whether you believe it or not, the law of gravitation will act. Go to the terrace of a very multi-story building and declare, I do not believe in the law of gravitation, and jump. What will happen? Next day in the newspaper, your photograph will be published. This person did not believe in the law of gravitation, and yet the law of gravitation worked and he died. These are all lighthouse principles. Stephen Covey has written a beautiful book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There he gives an example that a steamer was going and then it saw there is a light outside from the other side. So perhaps it is another ship is coming. So the captain gave the message in wireless, please move your ship by 20 degrees, otherwise it will collide. And from the other side came the message, you please move your ship by 20 degrees. Now, this captain was very much annoyed. He again took up wireless message. I am the captain of the ship commanding you to move your ship. Who is at the other end? And the reply came, sir, I am a humble operator of the lighthouse. If you don't want to change your direction, I don't mind. So, if you don't follow, if you don't change your direction, you will be killed. I don't mind. These are all lighthouse principles. You have to oblige the reality. Reality will not oblige you. You have to oblige the reality. You have to follow the reality. Otherwise get crushed. Otherwise get punished. Otherwise get perished. This is the law of karma. So these are all lighthouse principles. Knowing full well, let us try. So there is nothing called destiny. What is destiny? My destiny is built up of my past karmas. That very thing proves that my future destiny will be decided by my present karmas. So don't try to know your destiny. Try to change your destiny. How? By hard work and smart work. You are the creator of your own destiny. So whatever best possible, try to do your best. Can you do better than best? Leave the rest. That means accept it. I have tried my best. You must have satisfaction. Under the circumstances, I tried my best. More than that, I could not have done. So I don't have any regrets. I tried my best. That's all. So sometimes you have to face the situation. Because everything will not happen according to our own test, according to our own wish. We have to accept certain inevitables. Whatever cannot be cured must be endured. This is a practical solution. It is not accepting defeat. Whatever cannot be cured must be endured. First try to get it cured. If it cannot be cured, then endure it. It must be endured. Increase your capacity of endurance. So, whatever cannot be cured must be endured. So that is why beautiful prayer of Rabindranath Tagore, O Lord, give me the power of following what is good for me, and whatever comes, if not does not good does not come, give me the power of accepting it, and please give me the wisdom to know the difference. So let us try our best, do your best, and leave the rest. Then enjoy the game. You see, in games sometimes there is a victory, sometimes there is defeat. All the time you cannot be winning. Sometimes there is. So accept the defeat in a sportsman spirit and try again and have another bigger victory. This will go on. And then enjoy the drama. You see, when you go and see a drama or when you see a movie, what type of movie you like? One is movie that you like is all laughing, very comical. That is one, okay. Laurel Hardy and all that. But another movie also, sometimes you say, this movie was very good. Why? Because there was so much tragedy and the heroine was weeping and real, we felt that she is weeping. So you sometimes enjoy the tragedy also. You enjoy comedy also. You enjoy tragedy also. But when it is in a film, when it is in our life, then we start weeping over our tragedy. Take it. This is also a part of the life. This is a film going on. It's a drama going on. But only thing, I am now the actor and not the spectator. Now convert your actor into spectator. Then you will be enjoying your tragical drama. You will enjoy that. This is a part of the game. So enjoy the game of life. Enjoy the drama of life. And fifth is F, that is face the brutes, as I told you. Face the difficulties of life squarely and forget. Forget and forgive. Something has happened in the past, forget and forgive. इसने मुझे ऐसा किया, उसने मुझे कैसे. Forget and forgive. Why are you going on repeatedly remembering the negative things that only fills your mind with all negative thoughts? Kick it out. Kick them out. All the negative thoughts. Forget and forgive. Start a new life. And forbearance. Forbearance is very important. We have lost the capacity of forbearance. We become so agitated so quickly. We must have forbearance. Both physical forbearance, mental forbearance. Physical forbearance, if there is too much of heat, so it's there. Now it's too much of rain, it's there. Let us forbear it. It's a part of the game. It's part of the season. If it's rainy season, rain will come. Sometimes there will be flood. Okay, we will do flood relief. Okay. So this is a part of the game. Face it and forbear it. Forbearance of the difficulty that come in our life. So I have given you in a nutshell. There is A to Z I could go, but I will go only up to F. So A is, again I am telling you, that is analyze, accept and adjust. B, bite as much as you can see, as you can chew. C, count your blessings. D, do your best and leave the rest. E, enjoy the game of life. And F is forbearance. F is for forget and forgive. F is for face the brutes, face the difficulties of life squarely. So I give in a nutshell the mantras of stress management. So be bold, don't worry. We have got many problems, but we will face the problems squarely and we will come out victorious. No doubt about it. Have that confidence. So I am very happy to have talked to you. Now I will be very happy to answer your questions. I have just prepared the background. Now I will be very happy to reply to your questions, to your queries.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you so much for
Gadi
this
lana bhul
wonderful
gaya.
lecture, and this is a
Gadi.
much needed one for us.
Watch.
Now the session is open for interaction. You may unmute and ask your questions, or you can also put it in the chat box. If anyone is interested, you may ask him directly. You may unmute yourself and ask him the question. For the participants in the YouTube platform, I will pick a question from chat box. Anybody will ask questions directly? Okay. Swamiji, then I am putting the questions from the YouTube.
Okay.
Ignita Sakya, she is saying that elderly are more fear of any situation and they also don't want to listen to others. So how to help them in stress management?
Yeah, please repeat the question.
Okay. She is asking that elderly are more fear of any situation and they also don't want to listen to others. So how to help them in stress management?
Okay, you are talking about your parents or what?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Now you see what has happened is there is a big generation gap that has come, and that was expected also. So the Future Shock, Alvin Toffler wrote the book Future Shock a few years back, and he said the whole society is undergoing transformation at such an accelerated speed that the society would not be able to absorb that shock. That time has come because the society is undergoing such a tremendous transformation so quickly that this society is not able to absorb that shock. I will give an example, simple example. I was in Rajkot at that time also, and now I am in Rajkot for 3 years, but in between I was for 12 years in Baroda and before that 8 years in Porbandar. Before that, when I was in Rajkot, I am talking about my first innings. So that time a student used to come to me. She was studying microbiology, MSc microbiology. And she used to participate in our competitions, annual competitions. We used to hold in connection with Swami Vivekananda's birthday. And she used to give very powerful lecture, and she used to say, nowadays parents, they do not understand the modern children and there is a generation gap. She used to give very powerful speeches and she used to get award also. Now it so happened that afterwards she became a lecturer in the same college. Now after that 2 years, she comes to me and she said, Swamiji, I used to give lecture on this generation gap. Now my students are telling, Madam, you will not understand us, there is a generation gap. Within 2 years, the generation gap has come. That you see, just imagine how the generation gap is coming so quickly. So this is quite natural. But what is the solution? Solution is, in order to bridge the generation gap, the only solution is bridge the communication gap. That is, have more of communication. How? That is, there should be more of meetings. The parents should try to understand the children. Children should try to understand the parents, and both have to adjust with each other. And as I told you, forbearance is the real key word. Forbearance. You know, I am talking about 17th century. Osun, was the Prime Minister of Japan at that time, very old man, and he had a very big family, a very large family, about 200 people. And it was told that in this family there was so much of harmony and peace that nobody fought with each other. Not only that, even dogs did not fight. Normally, dogs cannot remain without fighting at night, but dogs also did not fight. So, the Emperor of Japan was very inquisitive, was very curious to know. So, he came to the Prime Minister and said, "What is the matter? We have got very small nuclear families and still we have got a lot of these problems. But you have got so much of harmony, peace in your such a big family. You please give me 100 success formulas for having harmony and peace in the family. And I will circulate these formulas, golden formulas of keeping family, harmony and peace in the family. Please give me 100 success mantras for this." So the old man said, "Okay, you give me the piece of paper." And he started writing. And he gave 100 mantras. What were the mantras? The 100 mantras were 100 success mantras for having harmony and peace in the families. What were the mantras? Forbear, 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 forbear. 100 times it was written. Only one mantra. Forbear, forbear, forbear. Forbearance is the golden word. We will have to forbear. As I told you, endurance. Whatever cannot be cured must be endured. You try, do your best and leave the rest. For example, I will tell the students, you try to convince your parents. Okay? And then, if they do not listen, you have done your best. Accept it. Accept. You also will have to adjust. And the best method of getting along better with people, either with parents or with teachers or with friends, I'll give you a really golden formula. How to get along better with others. I'll give you a golden formula. How to avoid this stress, how to avoid this strife, how to avoid this struggle or this strife. I'll give you this golden formula. What is the golden formula? Formula is this. In terms of opinion, swim swiftly with the current. In terms of opinions, swim swiftly with the current. In terms of principles, stand firm like a rock. Now, some people, they stand firm like a rock all the time. Naturally, they are so obstinate, nobody wants to meet them, meet those people. No, you should be flexible. But flexible when? When it's a matter of opinions. In terms of principles, stand firm like a rock. And you will find only hardly a few matters only when it's a question of principles. Not even 10%. 90% of the time, you will be flexible. When it comes to the matters of principle, of course, you stand firm like a rock. No compromise at that time. But all the other times, why not adjust? Adjust, adjust, adjust. Adjustment is the law of nature. You will have to adjust. Rains has come, you have to adjust. Earthquake has come, you have to adjust. Corona has come, you have to adjust. Family, parents are angry, you have to adjust. Try to know each other, try to explain to each other, try to have communication, more communication, try to explain to each other. And when it cannot be done, do your best and leave the rest. Accept it. This is the thing. This is, you try, and I'm sure you will beat with success. Okay?
Thank you, Swamiji. Next question is from Sharma sir. He is asking that what is the difference of minds and thoughts, and how to keep mind blank in brain?
You know, mind is a different thing. The thoughts are always inside the mind. Okay? Mind is an instrument by which you think, and thoughts, they come and they go. They come and then they go. Now, there are all types of thoughts they come. So, what we have to see is that only positive thoughts come and negative thoughts should not be invited. Write down, notice board, no admission for the negative thoughts. Drive them out. Do not allow them to enter your mind. They will try to enter. Yes, but don't allow. No admission for negative thoughts. So you are the creator of your own destiny, and you also have the power over your mind. You can control your mind. At present you are not able to control, that's a different thing. Gradually you will be able to control. Purer the mind, the easier it is to control. And you have to have fixed routine in order to have control your mind and control your life. That's the second thing. So once you have controlled your life, once you have controlled your mind, you have purified your mind, purer the mind, easier it is to control. The regularity of life and purity of mind will make it easier for you to control your mind. So control your mind, do not allow any negative thoughts to enter into your mind. So thoughts may come, all types of thoughts may come, but don't entertain negative thoughts. Only invite positive thoughts. Deliberately you have to try. Every day you must bombard your mind with positive thoughts. Gradually a stage will come when it will learn the difference between positive thoughts and negative thoughts. An automatic filtration plant will come, but that is later on. In the beginning you will have to work very hard. Try to see that only positive thoughts are being invited. For negative thoughts, no admission. With discrimination, power of discrimination, try to forget about those and try to drive them out. And the best way is to go on increasing alkali. There is acid, lot of acid. Don't bother about acid, put alkali, it will become neutralizing. So don't bother about so many negative things that you are having in your mind. Don't worry. So much of acid is there, don't worry. Go on putting alkali and it will get neutralized because of the alkali. So go on putting positive thoughts. The negative thoughts will be ultimately neutralized. So this is the way. Never bothering too much about negative thoughts. No. The solution is go on in pouring positive thoughts. Negative thoughts will go automatically away over a period of time. This is the solution.
Thank you, Swamiji. The next question from Sushanta. He is asking, what is actual meaning of consciousness in Vedanta?
Okay. Now consciousness is nothing but Chetana. This is the ultimate reality. And everything has come out from consciousness, and there is only one consciousness. Now Vedanta is telling there is no two consciousness. Ultimate consciousness, it is only one consciousness. And fortunately the modern physics also has told, modern quantum mechanics has also told that it is one consciousness. As you know, Bell's theorem states that all the particles of the whole universe are interconnected at a deeper level. And David Bohm, the Nobel Prize winner, has already verified it experimentally. And that is why Erwin Schrödinger, Nobel Prize winner, another Nobel Prize winner in physics. Now, Erwin Schrödinger, what does he say? Consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. Consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. It is one consciousness, one universal consciousness permeating the whole world. And this is exactly what Vedanta says. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Isha vasyam idam sarvam. Yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Tena taktena bhunjitha. Ma gridakasya siddhanam. And this thought of Vedanta, of this Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, this thought of Vedanta, of one consciousness permeating the whole world, has been articulated in a beautiful song by a Sufi saint, that is last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar. You know, Swami Vivekananda was a great singer. Sri Ramakrishna was also a great singer. And whenever Swami Vivekananda would come as a student, Narendra, at that time his name was Narendra. Whenever he would come, Sri Ramakrishna would say, please sing some songs. And then he will sing some songs. He said, I'm going. No, not before you sung that song. Which song? The favorite song of both Ramakrishna and Vivekananda was that song, which I am telling about that. That song was written by the last Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar, which is giving the message of Vedanta. Though it is a Sufi song, but it is giving the message of Vedanta. What is that? तुझसे हमने दिल को लगाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है, एक तुझको अपना पाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. Oh Lord, you are present everywhere. सबके मकान दिल का मकीन तू, कौन सा दिल है जिसमें नहीं तू, हर एक दिल में तू ही समाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. इनसाइड एवरी ह्यूमन बीइंग, एवरी ह्यूमन हार्ट यू आर प्रेजेंट. एष सर्वेषु भूतेषु गूढ़ो आत्मान प्रकाशते दृश्यते त्वग्रया बुद्धिया सूक्ष्मया सूक्ष्मदर्शिभी. क्या मलायक, क्या इंसान, क्या हिंदू, क्या मुसलमान, जैसा चाहा तूने बनाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. इनसाइड एवरी ह्यूमन बीइंग, ओ लॉर्ड यू आर प्रेजेंट. त्वम स्त्री, त्वम पुमानसी, त्वम कुमार उतवा कुमारी, त्वम जीर्णो दंडे न वंशसी, त्वम जातो भवशी विश्वतो मुखा. Oh Lord, you are present everywhere. You are present in the young man, you are present in the young woman, you are present in the old man who is tottering with a stick. Oh Lord, you are present everywhere. काबा में क्या, देवल में क्या, तेरी परवरिश होगी सब जहाँ, सभी ने तुझको सिर है झुकाया, जो कुछ है स्तुति है. Everywhere, all roads are leading to the same goal. This is what our Upanishad said, Ekam Sadvipara Bahuda Vadanti. In our own times, Sri Ramakrishna practiced various religions by turn. First he practiced Hinduism, then he practiced Christianity, then he practiced Islam, and then he came to the conclusion that all religions lead to the same goal. काबा में क्या, देवल में क्या, तेरी परवरिश होगी सब जा, सभी ने तुझको सिर है झुकाया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. अर्श से लेकर फर्श जमी तक और जमी से अर्श बरी तक, जहां में देखा तू ही नजर आया, जो कुछ है सो तू ही है. Everywhere it is one universal consciousness. This is a great realization. Of course, it is given in Upanishads, but we have forgotten that message. But in our own times, Sri Ramakrishna practiced it, found this out, that yes, it is very true. And Swami Vivekananda, once when he was meditating, when he was wandering before going to America, as I told you, when he was in Almora, near Almora, there is a place called Kakri Ghat, about 10 miles, 10-15 kilometers away from beautiful place where two small rivers meet. There is a people tree. Under that people, that Swami Vivekananda told his brother disciple, Swami Akhandanandaji, what a beautiful place. Let me meditate here. And then he started meditating under that people tree. And after long meditation, he said, today I have solved one of the greatest problems of my life. What is that? I was always worried about the relationship between microcosm and macrocosm. And today, now I have come to the conclusion, I have got final conviction that microcosm and macrocosm are built on the same plan. It is one universal consciousness, they are not two. So, ultimately, Bahadur Shah Zafar says, सोचा समझा देखा भाला तुझ जैसा न कोई ढूंढ निकाला अब यह समझ में सफर की आया जो कुछ ऐसा तो ही है. So it is one universal consciousness. It's a wonderful thing. What Vedanta had been telling for thousands of years, which we had forgotten. In fact, we thought about the ultimate reality, which was beyond time, space, and causation. That is the transcendental reality. But the same transcendental reality is immanent in each and every human being. We had forgotten about it. So in our own time, Sri Ramakrishna said, came, he experimented, verified that no, it is one universal consciousness. He had first-hand experience. And then Swami Vivekananda also had first-hand experience. That's why when he went to America, he give lectures on microcosm, macrocosm, and he said, both microcosm and macrocosm are built on the same plan. And now the modern quantum mechanics is also coming to the same plane, where Schrodinger says, consciousness is a singular of which the plural is unknown. Very beautiful question. Of course, consciousness is a very, very complicated topic. I have just given the periphery of it. Very nice. Thank you very much for the beautiful question.
Thank you, Swamiji. Another question from Trumem. She is asking, how do we proceed to get a control over our mind? And saying that once that is achieved, at least to some extent, a lot of problems will be sorted.
Yes, control of mind is very important. Very good question. Unless until we have control of our mind, we will not be able to solve our problems. After all, the problems are in the mind. Problems are in the mind, and the mind itself is a problem for most of us. This mind, this rascal fellow, it does not follow us. We want that you should study, but the mind says, no, I'll go to see a movie. You tell the mind something and the mind is not obeying you. This is a very rascal mind. So, it has to be subdued. So we will have to have control over mind. Then only we will be able to get success. We cannot have success in life unless until we have control over mind. We cannot overcome problems, mental problems, unless until we have control over mind. This is a beautiful question. So mind and its control. There's a beautiful book by Swami Buddhananda which is available in our bookshop. Afterwards you can go through that book. But the basic fundamental thing is this, that we must remember, as I told you, this mind is not supreme. There is buddhi or the intellect which is the master of this mind. Intellect is also not independent. This is again being ruled by Atman, and we are that Atman. So we are the masters. We are the masters. So we have to control. This is a beautiful simile that is given in Kathopanishad. There is a chariot. The horses are there. These senses are the horses. So horses have to be very strong. Okay. But along with that, we have to have a good rein. What is rein? That is mind. And who is the charioteer? Intellect is the charioteer. And what is Atman? Atman is sitting on the back. We are the Atman. Now, if the intellect does not properly operate and does not have control over the reins, then horses will go, run and meet with an accident. So, these senses will go and meet with an accident if we do not have control over mind. So, the intellect should control the mind. That is the charioteer. But sometimes the charioteer drinks wine. What to do? At that time, it is the duty of the owner of the chariot to give a good thrashing, remove his intoxication, and tell the intellect to properly control the mind. So, mind of control will come by our intellect. Okay? And we have got that power of discrimination. Only thing, as I told you, it is in a dormant state. That is why Swami Vivekananda told again and again, arise, awake and stop not till the goal is it. Why? What is the goal? Goal is control of mind. That is the goal. Arise, awake and stop not till the goal is it. It's a long drawn process. It will not come in a day. But it can be started. It can be started how to control the mind. As I told you, the mind will be easier control. It will be easy to control the mind. First thing is it must be pure. An impure mind cannot be controlled. Purity is very important. How purity will come? Purity will come by pure intake. What is the intake? Intake is not only what we are eating. Intake is through our ears, through our eyes, all these things. So remember the 3 monkeys of Gandhiji. That is, don't look at evil, don't see evil, don't listen to evil, don't speak evil. These things we have to apply in our life. Why it is happening? Why our mind is becoming weak? Because we are taking all sort of nonsensical things. So much of internet chatting, cheating going on simultaneously, internet chatting going together. There is no control. So you will have to control. So that is why this routine life will be very important. If we can make a routine, a practicable timetable. This is the time of getting up, this is the time of sleeping, this is the time of study. Try to prepare a timetable which will be practicable. And if you can't follow it, again change the timetable. And if you cannot follow it, doesn't matter. Even if 50% you are successful, doesn't matter. But have a timetable. At present, we don't have any timetable. At home, no. What time you get up? I ask many students, what time do you get up? Nothing is certain. Then say, what time you go to sleep? Nothing is certain. What time do you eat? Nothing is certain. What time you study? Nothing is certain. Then they will ask me, when can I get control over mind? I said, nothing is certain. So, if you want to have control over mind, if you make your control mind certain, then you have to have certainty in all those things. So, prepare a timetable. So, there are 2 things I am telling you now for controlling the mind. Purify your mind by taking good intake through our eyes, through ears, through our mouth, number 1. Number 2, have a nice routine, a fixed routine in your life. Try to be routine and regular in your life. Today you get up at 6, tomorrow you get up at 7, day after tomorrow 8 o'clock, again 5 o'clock. No, there should be some time. What happens when your life is regulated, your mind gets regulated. It's easier to control the regulated mind. So these are the fundamentals I have told you. Read that book, Mind Its Control by Swami Buddhanand. Okay? Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Swamiji. The next question, yes. Sunarda ma'am, she is asking that the situation at present is even difficult for the healthy people. Then how people with pre-existing depression and anxiety should try to cope up with the present challenge?
The solution is the same. You have to be bold. You have to be courageous. Do your best and leave the rest. Whatever are the problems, you face the problem squarely. This is the situation. Don't try to run away from the situation. Don't try to be cowardly. Yes, this is what is the situation is there. Let us try to face the situation cleverly, boldly, and of course, we may not be 100% successful. Doesn't matter. Do your best and leave the rest. So no need of worry. Best thing, you analyze, is it solvable problem? Is it solvable or insoluble? If it is solvable, then don't worry. Try to solve the problem rather than worrying. Even if it is insoluble, then why worry? Because by worrying you are not able to solve it. So why worry? In both the cases, why worry? What is the question of worry? So one gentleman nicely told, okay, what is the worry? The worry is only this, either you will get corona or not. Okay. If you don't get corona, there is no need of worry. You get corona, then there are only two things. Either you will get recover or not, or you will die. Okay. So if you recover, then there is no worry. Now if you die, then there is a worry whether you will go to heaven or hell. Now if you go to heaven, there is no worry. Now if you go to hell, no worry, because a lot of friends will be there waiting for you. This is just a joke they share. In any case, there is no need of worry. Worrying is not going to solve the problem. Problem will be solved by thinking over the solution in a scientific manner and solve it, rather than just imaginary going on for worrying. So I understand those who are healthy, they can be also attacked. What to talk of those who are not healthy? Doesn't matter. Take all precautions. Take all precautions. Corona cannot enter your house unless until you invite it, or you go out. So try to reduce your going out. At least those who are above 65 years of age, they should try to avoid going out. So these are all certain precautions. If you take, then the probability will further go down. Already now the intensity has gone down in the sense that they may be getting corona, but they are getting recovered also. The mortality rate is decreasing. That is, the death is very, very, very less. As I told you, the lowest rate is in India, 2.5 per million. Compared to America and other countries, it's much less. Anyway, but that doesn't mean we should not take precaution. We should take precautions. Do your best and leave the rest. That is the solution. Okay?
Thank you, Swamiji. Another question from Kathakali Bhattacharya. She is asking that why we can't realize or experience our true nature, that is divine.
Why can't we experience? That is because there is a great curtain, very thick curtain. So that consciousness is already there. That is why Kabir says, मोको कहाँ तू ढूंढे बंदे, मैं तो तेरे पास में, खोजोगे तभी मिलूंगा पल भर की तलाश में. The source of infinite joy, infinite happiness is within each and every one of us. But we are searching outside for happiness and peace. It is already inside. But we are not able to experience it. That is the question. The question is, why you are not able to experience? If our nature is divine, why we are not able to feel that happiness, feel that ananda, that bliss? Isn't it? That is the question. So the reply is that though the divinity is there, but it is not manifested. It is in a dormant form. So Swami Vivekananda says the goal of life is to manifest it. How to manifest it? By controlling nature, external and internal. How to do that? 4 yogas you have to practice every day. That is Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. What is Raj Yoga? Raj Yoga is Ashtanga Yoga, 8-fold path. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. What is Yama? Yama is 5. Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, Ahimsa. And Niyama, Shauch, Santosh, Tap, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhan. So Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. This is the 8-fold path. That is Raj Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga is worshipping the Lord, taking the name of the Lord, repeating the mantra, going to the temple, churches, mosques, visiting the pilgrim places. Most important, loving the Lord. This is Bhakti Yoga. Third is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is trying to understand our true nature. Who am I? Am I this body? No. Am I this mind? No. Am I this intellect? No. Then who am I? I am beyond all this. Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham. Now try to practice this, trying to know all these positive thoughts and to meditate on them. That is Jnana Yoga. And then fourth is Karma Yoga. That is unselfish service, as I told you. Try to do whatever little unselfish service you can do. Charity begins at home. And then convert each and work into worship. That will come by giving up the attachment to work, attachment to fruits of the work. Once we get detached from the fruits of the work, fruits will come by the simple sheer law of karma. As I told you, it is a light or principle. But we should not be worried about it. It will come in its own way, in its own time. With compound interest will come. You need not bother about it. But you should not bother about it. It will come its own way. So, by practicing these 4 yogas, we will be able to remove this veil of ignorance. This is what we have to do. Remove this veil of ignorance. That is what Kabir says. घूंघट का पट खोल रे तो है पिया मिलेंगे, कटुक वचन मत बोल रे तो है पिया मिलेंगे. Remove this veil. घूंघट का पट खोल दो तो है पिया मिलेंगे. You will get the beloved. You will get the Lord. How? Remove the veil. How to remove the veil? These are the 4 methods. Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. Okay? So this in a nutshell I have told you. Practicing 4 yogas will manifest our divinity. It is already there. We don't have to import it. Okay?
Maharaj ji, may I ask you, how long could you be with us?
Yes, I can stop just now.
7 o'clock.
But too much.
Okay.
I can stop just now. If there are no questions, we can wind it up.
Actually, there are some more questions, so that is why I am.
Okay. Then you go on. No problem.
Okay. Thank you so much. So one is asking that how can we persevere and stay in doing some task that takes a long time and hard work to bear fruits? It's easy doing stuff if we get instant rewards, but some big things take a lot of time.
I did not get the question. Please repeat.
Okay. He's asking that how can we persevere and stay in doing some task that takes a long time and hard work to bear fruits?
Very good. So perseverance is a must. So that is what Swami Vivekananda says, that purity, passions and perseverance, these are the 3 essentials to success. And above all, love. Purity, passions and perseverance, these are the 3 essentials to success, and above all, love. So perseverance is a great thing. So I can understand, this is what exactly is that. Perseverance, if you cannot persevere, you will not be able to achieve success. You have to persevere. In spite of the difficulties, in spite of the resistance, in spite of the problems, in spite of the backbiting and leg pulling as it happens in the society today, you have to persevere and you will win in the game. You will win the game. That requires lot of inner power, inner strength. So if you got inner strength, And this inner strength will come by manifesting the divinity. The tremendous power will come. Infinite power is there. If you practice a little, in that also you will get so much of power, you will be able to face this problem squarely. So perseverance will come. How? By patience. How? By courage. How? By neglecting criticism. Don't give any attention to them. Let the dogs bark. It is the duty of the dogs to bark. But the elephant, when it is going, हाथी चले बाजार में, कुत्ता भौंके हजार, साधुन को दुर्भाव नहीं, नींदे चाहे संसार. The elephant does not even look at the dogs, they are barking. Doesn't make any difference. So, you should go on your own way. Satyameva jayate. Ultimately, the truth shall triumph. I will hold on to the truth. I will not make any compromise. Today or tomorrow or day after, I am going to meet success. I am going to meet success because Satyameva jayate. Ultimately, the truth shall triumph. So, don't worry. Hold on. Persevere. Okay?
Thank you, Swamiji. Another question is, Tukanya is asking that how you see people who think themselves as religious, but at times they feel jealousy and try to put down other religions or just they do not give importance.
That means they are not giving importance to other religions. Is that the question?
Yes, apart means.
They are not giving some people. Yeah, please read out.
Okay. She's asking that how you see people who think themselves as religious, but at times they feel jealousy and try to put down other religions or just they do not give importance.
Well, it depends upon the individuals, but normally if a person, you see, you must try to know the difference between religion and spirituality. A person may be religious and still not at all spiritual. A person may be going to temple, churches, mosques religiously and fasting and so many other forms may be adopting, and yet that person may not be spiritual. On the other hand, a person may be not going to temple, church, mosque, not reading any book, but he may be spiritual. So these two things have to be kept in mind. A person may be religious, not necessarily spiritual. So in order that jealousy should not be there, in order that anger should not be there, in order that all these vices should not be there, in order that one should be sticking to the truth and all that, truthfulness and all the other virtues, they are part and parcel of not religion, part and parcel of spirituality. Religion is an external form. It is only following certain rituals. Okay, this is another part. But what we are concerned is, we must be spiritual. And so Dana Zohar says that the name of the book is SQ, Spiritual Intelligence, the Ultimate Intelligence, where she says neurologically, biologically, physiologically, psychologically, from every point of view there is a concluding evidence, there is something called SQ, which is the basis of both IQ and EQ. What is IQ? IQ will tell you how to play the game of life. What is EQ? EQ will tell you how to play the game of life under changed circumstances with changed strategies. What is SQ? SQ will tell you whether to play the game of life at all or not. That is, what is the purpose of life? What is the meaning of life? Why have we come to this world? What do we want to achieve before we live? This is SQ. And she says a person may be high in SQ and yet not following any rituals of religion. It may happen so. Another person may be very religious and yet lacking in SQ. So these two are two separate things. This we have to remember. A person having high SQ will not be jealous. A person with high SQ will not be morose. A person with high SQ will not be angry. A person with high SQ will not cheat others. Unselfishness is the most important criteria, unselfishness is the most important criteria for that SQ. So the SQ has to be developed. So I will say that let us try to be more spiritual rather than religious. And somebody is following what religion, that is immaterial. You may or may not follow religion, that is immaterial. What religion you are following, that is immaterial. Are you spiritual? Are you growing? Is your consciousness growing? Are you feeling for others? Are you becoming more unselfish? Have you got an idea of serving others? Do you stick to the truth? Do you stick to honesty? Do you stick to integrity? Do you feel for others? These are all the virtues. If these virtues are there, you are having high SQ. If you are having SQ, then you are going to very soon get manifest your divinity. Once you manifest the divinity, infinite power will come to you. Infinite power, unlimited power. And along with that, eternal life. Along with that, infinite happiness and peace. All these will come once we manifest the divinity. How? By developing SQ. So this is the difference should be always remembered. Okay?
Thank you, Swamiji. Can we take some more questions?
Okay, quickly.
Yeah,
What is the
okay.
time? Quickly.
Okay. Elambir, he's asking that how yoga and pranayam reflects in the mental and health imaginary divine as of the positive.
That is, what is the question? I personally, I think what he wants to know is that how much physical and mental health can be helped by practicing yogas. Okay, there is the question. So now, as I told you, what is yoga? First of all, let us understand. Yoga is not yogasana. Most of the people have got this very limited concept of yoga. Yoga is the word that has come from the word yuj. Yuj means to unite. What is yoga? Yoga is the union between individual self and the supreme self. This is the yoga that we want. Now, if we want to have union between individual self and supreme self, that means manifesting the divinity which is already there. For that, there are 4 yogas: Raj Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Gyan Yoga and Karma Yoga. Raj Yoga is the path of meditation. Bhakti Yoga is the path of love towards the God. Gyan Yoga is the path of discrimination and reflection. And 4th is Karma Yoga, path of unselfish action. So these are the 4 methods by which you manifest the divinity, by which you manifest your SQ. So this is how we go about it. Now, this Hatha Yoga is only part of Raj Yoga, and Yogasana is a part of Hatha Yoga. This is not all, but there is no harm in going for Yogasana. Yes, in order to have physical health, you must go for Yogasana. But mere Yogasana will not give you equanimity of mind, will not give you peace of mind. So what we have to practice? We have to practice the 4 yogas. If you practice these 4 yogas in daily life, certainly you will have a very strong mind, healthy mind. Along with that, you practice a part of this Raj Yoga called Hatha Yoga, and the part is Yogasana. If you practice Yogasana, your physical health also will be improved. In fact, the modern psychologists, modern physiologists, modern scientists say that most of the diseases are psychosomatic in nature, and healthy mind in a healthy body and vice versa is also true. So both are interconnected. So when you will practice 4 yogas, when you are healthy, when your mind will be healthy, automatically your body will be healthy. So that is why we tell you do yogasana for your physical health, but practice these 4 yogas for your mental health. Both are important, equally important. So this is what we should go for.
Thank you, Swamiji, for a wonderful lecture and such a long session of interaction. We are really very fortunate to have you with us today. Thank you so much.
Those who have got soul more problem, don't worry. I have got my website www.swaminikileshwaranand.com. In that website, there is FAQ, frequently asked questions. About 100 questions are there. Normally, whenever I go to all over the country meeting the youth, these are the types of questions they ask. All the answers are there given in FAQ. And supposing a question is not there, you go through my YouTube channel, www.youtube/Nikhileshwarananda, you will get so many lectures and question answer sessions also, which I have dealt with in various forums. That is second thing. Third, still you have got some special question, you can always write to me, send a mail to my personal email ID nikhileshwarananda@gmail.com. So these are the three things I am telling. SwamiNikhileshwaran.com website, go through FAQ. If your question is replied, well and good. Go to YouTube, my YouTube channel, subscribe it. There are more than 200 lectures, in which many of the places we have given question answer session also. In fact, there are certain things where only question answer session, Vivekan answers has been given. So you go through that, there you may get the answer. And still if you don't get it, you can always write to me. So I am very happy to meet all the youngsters and all the students, physics department, very brilliant students, physics department, and all the teachers. Only thing, actually meeting would have been much better, but at least something is better than nothing. So we have to always remember, whatever is the best, do your best and leave the rest. We have tried to do our best. Thank you very much. All the best to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Swamiji. Now may I request our Dean School of Physical Sciences, Assam University, Professor Chiraranjan Bhattacharjee, to please summarize. Sir, please. Sorry, you are muted. Hello, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Devlina. And Reverend Swamiji Nikhileshwarananda for his eloquent and beautiful analysis of how to stay healthy during the crisis time. In fact, it has been a very, very enlightening talk. He has touched on very important aspects of life, and I think all our students, faculties, scholars have been immensely benefited from his talk. Widespread lockdown, social distancing requirement, and economic concerns caused by the pandemic imposed a feeling of personal isolation and uncertainty. With constant news report, outbreak-related statistics, physical restrictions, it is easy to feel overwhelmed. We are all experiencing elevated level of stress and anxiety. But there are ways to recognize and address these emotional shifts. Swamiji has so very eloquently addressed these aspects, and I have noted down few points which may be important to reiterate for all of us. He dwelt on the center of mind as the center of consciousness. He said to face challenges squarely and boldly. The concept of PMA, positive mental attitude, the positive thoughts are extremely important in such crisis time. We must remove any imaginary fear. We should have control over the inner self. We have infinite power within ourselves. We only need to realize this. He has dwelt on extensively the methods to rouse the dormant power of the soul. We must be able to manifest the divinity within. We need to feel the bliss. Most important in human life is the unselfish service with the spirit of detachment from material things. It is important for us to enhance and activate the capacity to handle problems. And it is the right time to convert challenges to opportunity and opportunity to accomplishment. He has also given us not only ABC but also DEF of stress management formula. the most important thing what is said is that we must do our best and leave it to rest. The law of karma is supreme in life. As we all know that one is the creator of his or her own destiny. Forbearance or endurance is the key quality in life. To solve problems in a scientific manner with a rational approach is the need of the hour. And for success, perseverance, passion, love, and clinging to the truthfulness are the mantras. It is important for us to cultivate the virtues of life. Now, there are several other things. He has given ample number of examples how to sustain our motivation level, how to stay emotionally fit during the crisis. And I think the entire university community which has joined this webinar today and are immensely benefited and charged up because of your so vibrant talk that you have given to us. We are indeed very grateful to Shamiji. And most important fact is that the current pandemic situation has created a kind of a ravage across the humanity. And it is a very right kind of tone that you have set for the student community, the scholar community, and including the faculties of the university who are actually touched up by your mention of so many key elements of life and life skills. So I also congratulate the scholars of the physics department under the aegis of the committee guided by Professor Ganga Bhushan for organizing such a beautiful lecture by Reverend Shamiji Nikhilasharanandaji for this purpose. The Department of Physics, the head, and all the faculties, I congratulate for taking this initiative and enabling this wonderful lecture to take place. I, as Dean of the School of Physical Science, I once again thank Shamiji for being with us this evening at our entire community here. We will look forward to more such interactions with Shamiji. With us. So with this, I conclude and thank you all once again.
Thank you, sir, for giving such a beautiful summary. With this, we have come to the end of the program. We would like to organize such lectures in future